Okay, everyone, we are on, and I would like to open the Georgetown Planning Board July 27th, 2016 meeting, Memorial Town Hall, third floor conference room. It's a couple minutes after 7 o'clock. Couple of things before I forget, before we just get to approval of minutes, just a reminder to everybody, so I will not be here at the next meeting. I go on vacation on the 6th and I'm gone for 2 weeks, so you'll have to coordinate with Tilly. And speaking of Tilly, hope you're feeling better soon. Okay, so approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve the minutes of March 9th, 2016, subject to comments and corrections.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and it's been seconded to approve the minutes of March 9th, 2016. Any discussion? Anyone have anything? The only suggestion, if no one else had anything, the only discussion for me would be line 156 is the introduction of a new project, Bailey Lane. So would want to get a header like the other ones, I think. And then line 169 is the introduction of Turning Leaf, which is another new project, and that would get a header like the other guys do, just for consistency, and that'd be it. So, seeing no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous on the minutes. Correspondence from the town of Boxford. Does anybody have any issues with the correspondence? Okay. Moving on from correspondence, we're gonna go to vouchers.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the voucher for Larry Graham, H.L. Graham, and the amount of $500 for work on 44 South Street, East Lake.
Second?
Motion has been made, it's been seconded to approve the voucher in the amount of $500 for H.L. Graham Associates for work on 44 Searle Street, Lisa Lane. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
And then the next one, while we're waiting for that guy to sign.
I can't.
Make a motion to
Yeah.
approve the voucher to H.L. Graham Associates for Palmer Lane for the amount of $2,070.
Second.
Motion has been made and it's been seconded to approve the voucher to H.L. Graham Associates in the amount of $2,000 for
2070.
2,070, thank you, for professional services rendered in connection with Palmer Lane. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman?
Unanimous with one
Abstention.
with one abstention?
I would ask that the record reflects that I abstained from my vote.
On the Palmer Lane. Let's just sign these. This is 44 Searle. That one's yours.
That one I can do, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, while we're on the subject and while Mr. Graham is here, I understand that part of the reason that Mr. Graham is here is to, because there's been some discussion in the past about just not any questioning of your bill, any stretch of the imagination, but more of just understanding your billing procedure and how it matches up with some of our other vendors that we use. And so is this an appropriate time for us to just talk about that issue?
Absolutely,
Okay.
sure.
In my line of work, I have to submit invoices just as you do, but I need to show my work to the 10th of an hour, which may be far more detailed than what we need for our purposes here, but sometimes I just, I'm not sure that if anyone were to ever question what we have approved, that we could say in good confidence exactly what it is that has been done. I'm sure you could, but we probably could not, and being in a position where we have to, I mean, we're fiduciaries of these funds. I think that I would feel more comfortable if we had a little bit more detail on some of your invoices. Again, this is not in any way a reflection on your level of competence or honesty. It's more just so that we have a level of, so that we could know that if we were ever questioned by any of these developers what the money was spent on, we could tell them without any hesitation exactly what the money was spent on.
Respond?
Please, please.
I had gotten that word, and I understand it. And in fact, I hope that these invoices that you approved have an R behind the invoice number. They're the revised ones.
Yes, I can do that.
And if that level of detail is adequate, that's what I can continue to do. And maybe even a little more detail than that, but
This one, the $2,000 one, to me, is fine. I don't, I think this covers it. Contrasting that one with the $500 one, for example, for $500, I don't care. But, I wouldn't be able to tell from this what was done and how much time it took you, other than the whole project took 4 hours.
is there not a explanation down there with respect to doing a site visit, reviewing the plans, writing a report? I think that,
Absolutely.
Okay.
But just contrasting that with the higher bill one, I see what preparation and attending the meeting took you. That's very clear. Versus, I don't know whether the site visit, for example, took 5 minutes or 1.5 hours. That's all.
okay. Well,
But for my purposes,
let's give it
anything-
another shot, and
Sure,
I'll
sure.
try to be more explicit in detailing.
For my
those
purposes,
invoices.
anything under $1,000, I'm not as concerned about as anything over $1,000. Does anybody else have any sense on that, or?
I hate to put a limit on it. I mean, if it's a minimal amount, it should still have a little bit, a very brief, these, not that I looked at the one for Palmer Lane because I'm confused from that, but a little bit of explanation would be great. That would be very helpful, just to, I mean,
We'll
especially
give it a
when
shot.
the-
If the next shot doesn't work, we'll keep working at it, and we'll get to
There you
it.
go.
All right.
I think it should be simple, because you produce copious documentation, and I'm sure that we have all that. If there was a reference number or a date, that would be perfectly satisfactory to me.
I think that one does a good job.
I didn't do
What is the one you're referencing there? 'Cause
This
I'm
is the
not sure.
Palmer Lane.
11655?
161146R,
Is that
the Palmer Lane one.
So where do I
The
find that?
supplement, would
Yes.
that be in the
Is that in,
supplement?
thi-
Yeah.
that's in this thing?
Correct, Larry submitted it.
Okay,
this
so
week.
I haven't even opened that.
Okay, all right. But if you look at the description there, it just goes into quite a bit more detail.
A bit more detail.
Yeah.
It has dates, as Bob was,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our range of dates.
yes,
Of course.
Okay.
Yep.
I would be satisfied.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't look at, because it's Palmer Lane, I didn't look at
Sure.
it, but that's getting there, that's certainly getting there. Yeah, that's
We'll
justifiable.
work on it. Keep in mind, I only bill once a month, and, well, I'm not gonna go into detail about the inner office of how we work that billing, but it all goes into, on time cards, which all gets brought into the computer, and it comes back to me for billing once a month, so.
It's the thing I hate in my practice more than every other aspect of it. But unfortunately, it's what's required.
One of the things that we get sometimes with our contracts, I'm not sure how Scott is with his, but sometimes, our contracts are just a percentage of a phase. And those are our favorite, because when that happens, the bill goes out and it just says 10% of phase this, 20% of this, and that's it.
That's easy.
That's easy. Anyways, okay, so.
Thank you for your time on that.
All set?
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna go to old business, the meeting of Noonan's 269 Central Street, temporary occupancy and phasing approval request. And I guess what I'd like to do is, so Scott's gonna take a crack at it first, if he wants to. And then, I think then we have, Larry's here, for this project. I guess what I'd like to just start with is that, there's a number of items on the table tonight that are new and that came in a very recent period, recently. And the only way I'm thinking we're gonna get through this, if the goal is for a win-win for Noonan's and for the planning board representing the town of Georgetown, that we get this thing approved, but we also do our job of what we have to do, is to take one issue at a time versus like all of them, and be talking all about all of them different and jumping back and forth, so let Scott have a crack at it, and then we're gonna, start with that. Oh, David has to go, gonna let him have a speak
Mr.
here.
Chairman, if I
Nice shirt,
might,
by the way.
I'm here on behalf of the Flint family to offer my support for this project. I am by no means a land use planning expert or mean to meddle in your business whatsoever. However, I would like to see the Flint family be able to open and do business. I mean, these are well, I think the heat wave broke today, but we're in the middle of a situation where, a lot of people would be out. Their business could be flourishing right now. Again, I know there's rules, there's things that have to be done, I get it. But if there's any way possible, even if it's, contingent upon, these things being done before the next meeting. This is an established business that's been here for many, many, many years. I think there's a trust level there, it's not a new startup. So I'm just here to offer my support, and I know you have a very, very tough job to do, and I respect that. So on my behalf, speaking on me as a citizen, that I would really like to see this project open, and whatever you can do for these guys tonight, I would really appreciate it, so. For the record.
Well said, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I have another meeting, guys.
I do like your shirt.
Oh, it's casual, it's a casual Wednesday, that's all. All right, thank you.
Okay. Scott?
Okay. Good evening. Scott Cameron with the Moore and Cameron Group. Flynn's are all here with us as well. I'm just going to give a brief summary of what occurred between the last meeting tonight, and then it may be appropriate to turn it over to you guys. Heidi, you sent out the correspondence yesterday afternoon. I have kind of my response and notes here on it, so I'm prepared to talk about the points in it. And I think, at least from my position, we'll find a lot of these are not applicable or are already satisfied, but we can go through them item by item. So last week, you'd requested that we engage Larry's office. We had a site meeting out there to walk through everything that the Flynns have set up and gotten ready to do. We've made some additional adjustments to it. We added some planter balls at the end of the parking aisles, reinforced the fence that had been kind of a string with flags on it to a full orange construction fence. You can see it from the street now, plain as day. We kind of tweaked and adjusted some of the fencing and made things square up. And we got a plan submitted. This is just something I had marked up on site during our meeting, and I reinforced it and provided it to you so you have it. And what this illustrates is the parking configuration as it will be in this temporary phase for the use of the mini golf facility. We submitted with that a letter, and we did receive correspondence shortly thereafter from Larry's office. He's been great. He's been very responsive. He issued a set of conditions here that he recommended, and we had initially asked for kind of almost two phases on this. One to get us through this season to mid-July, and then starting construction after the 4th holiday of next year for the building. That would be more of a phase 2, where we would again manipulate it. Mr. Graham recommended that we just do phase 1 now, which we're fine with, and then we'll come back to the board hopefully next spring. And maybe the project is already getting underway, but we'll come back and talk to you before construction kicks up. And I think we were fine with that. And it keeps communication alive, and it lets us see how things have been going on the interim basis. So that said, I guess, I don't know how you want to handle this and walk through the points if you have questions, concerns.
Let me ask a question. Would it be possible, do you already, before going to Heidi, so we had the technical review agent sitting and work stuff out. First going to Larry, because I think most of your stuff has been worked out. And can you just briefly go over what remains as a question mark, that is an issue we need to resolve tonight that's new. Because I think Larry has only got one. And then we'll go to Heidi, which I think the conversation is a little broader. Is that all right?
I have one new, but I guess maybe the suggested conditions might be, there were 10 of them, we don't have to do one by one and knock them off if that's,
That would be fine.
That's this picture, what I'm looking at there?
yes.
Where's that?
That's in the supplemental packet, but it was also, I believe it was in the.
Was it in the
Friday packet, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I,
Yeah, it would have been in the Friday packet.
10-step program.
Good stuff.
consideration.
July 25th.
It's directly after Larry's letter. Maybe I'm mixing up the packets or something.
It was dated July 21st.
That was said
I got an
Friday.
extra copy. You want-
Do you have an extra?
Yeah.
I'm afraid to open the supplemental packet, it's so big, it's gonna,
It's in order.
it's gonna throw
It'll
me
envelop
off
you.
from what I've already reviewed for what I had before, so.
There's a lot about this, and a lot about what we can and can't legally do.
The first comment was whether the board had any concerns with any liability issues, and if such, that the town attorney might be contacted to be sure that Noonan's has all the insurance coverage that they need, and that the town is held harmless from any interim or temporary use approval that you are considering. And that's where I left it. I don't know if anything has.
Is the board okay with that? I am okay. We'll kill each one of these items as we go through them. Does the board have any questions about that particular item?
What did the town attorney say?
Well, we have not asked the town attorney. What I think we did was we asked Larry for his opinion. Larry's saying he's okay with it. But if you want a guarantee or you want something a little bit harder than that, you need to turn to your town council. I don't feel the need to turn to town council.
Nor do I. I can't think of any situation where approving one phase of an already approved project would create increased liability for the town. And if there's liability for Noonan's, that's not our bailiwick, that's their bailiwick, and, you know, if they
I'll be honest with you.
don't have proper insurance, that's,
I wouldn't have even considered talking to the town attorney about liability insurance. They're a private company and,
Yeah.
you know, if
So-
somebody gets hurt, it's their company.
So can we as a board then say for number one, check it off?
Yep.
Okay.
Number 2 talks about the provision for the temporary fencing in accordance with this plan behind you. And that would be a construction-type fence with rebar, and the rebar being safely capped. And I went by there this afternoon, and in fact, that has been done. The previously placed rebar and rope has been removed in place of that. So I'm satisfied that number 2 is complete.
Board okay?
May I ask a question?
Please.
Was that done as of Saturday morning at about 5 a.m.?
What time did you guys do that?
We're talking about the same state?
This past Saturday?
This past Saturday? That was all out?
The old fencing with the rope?
Yeah, it's posts with nice rope now and nice posts.
Oh, the posts are in along the sidewalk. I think that's what you're
Right.
talking about, running up the new sidewalk, and then in the parking lot to better distinguish where they want people to queue up and line up in their
Right.
park spaces. There's bright orange construction fencing. It's plain as day.
I saw a little bit of it. I saw maybe like 20 feet of it.
Yeah,
off
it's-
to the left.
Yeah, it's all there. It's all there now. And they put they moved some of the planters that were around the property, 3 on the end of each aisle.
Mhm.
So there's kind of a secure, you know, car can't drive through these things. They're big. They're massive. Big
And that's
planters.
what you saw, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So as far as I'm concerned, number 2 is a check off.
If Larry's okay, I'm okay. You guys okay?
I'm checking it out.
All right.
Number 3 really just puts a time limit on phase 1, that any approval you consider, and used to terminate as phase 2 begins, and phase 2 would begin not later than July 15th, 2017. So maybe they want to begin earlier, but you have a drop dead date of July 15th, 2017 for this phase one approval.
Are you okay with that?
Yep, that's what we talked about last time, and
Board?
that's,
I thought I read something different, but where you would continue it beyond that. You'd
There-
be operating it beyond that.
yeah, the phase two is where the construction begins. Now we're adjusting the parking lot again, and that's where we want to come in and talk to you at that point, make sure everybody's good with the phase two, see how progress is going. And that's Larry's last comment down here, he'll get to it, but because we want to have, the site, the facility is actively being used now for the retail store, so there's customers coming in regardless, they've been coming in during the construction to date. At a point in time when we need to, I guess right now this is a construction freeze period is how I termed it. When that freeze ends and they start construction on the building, they're going to block off an aisle for all the construction vehicles to come out, so the patrons won't be able to get to that. Construction fencing will go in, and that's what's highlighted on the plan as a phase two. So we tried to clarify what would happen on that July 15th date, or no later than that, and that's what we're describing here.
I'm sorry, so I'm not quite clear though.
Yeah,
So
that-
once,
yeah.
once phase two starts, are you going to close the golf course?
No, well,
Then-
that's,
If not, then this language just needs to be changed just a
Mhm.
slight bit.
Thank you. That's how I'm seeing it. Because I'm not picturing you closing
the golf course.
no,
the golf
it wouldn't,
course on
close.
June 15th, 2017.
Right.
But it sounds like the condition that would be putting on it is that you lose your occupancy permit on that date.
No, it's
No.
just a switchover from what you're going to approve temporarily now, particularly that parking that Scott's pointing
Yeah,
to.
right here,
That upper
so-
parking area, if you will, closest to the street, is proposed now to go away and to become the construction access for the cafe.
Right, which is right there. And then what,
So, I didn't think that it was advisable for the board to approve that at this point. You're really looking at what you want to approve as a temporary use for the golf. And between now and July 15th of 2017, one thing we can do is to see how this parking works out. Because if in fact, between the garden center and the golf, they're using all of those parking spaces, then we can't afford to get rid of them in phase two if they're gonna continue. And they're gonna have to come back with another plan. So that's what the purpose of that was.
And I agree with everything you just said. The way this is worded, they could do exactly what you said, but that's different than what they're proposing. Right.
It sounds as
Sure.
though,
Could you offer something?
Sure, sorry to
No, no problem.
be theoretical here. Phase one approval and use shall terminate if phase two has not begun on or before July 15th, 2017. Continuation of phase one upon commencement of the phase two must be approved by, parking must be approved by the board prior to commencement of phase two, something along those lines. Make it a two-step process here.
So the second part of it was continuation of phase one.
Continuation of
Phase
phase
one.
one,
Continue.
during,
Use under
use of the,
Upon commencement of phase two, the parking must be approved for phase two. Is that what you wrote?
phase two, upon commencement of phase two,
Mhm.
prior to commencement of phase two,
There we go.
applicant must seek approval for continuation of use of phase one.
remaining
Yeah,
open
yeah.
can we time out
items.
here for a
Yeah,
second?
sure.
Can we simplify maybe?
Please.
Phase one approval terminates on July 15th, 2017, period.
Simple.
The beginning of phase two can happen anytime these folks want, as soon as they come in and we review phase two, because we're not reviewing phase two.
And step one of phase two is figuring out if they're going to continue to operate the golf course, that they let us know how they're gonna handle the parking situation. Correct.
Other than that,
Yeah.
these folks have an approval to go to phase two, they can. They have every right in the world to build.
Larry, you
but
okay
they-
with something
Well,
like that?
I referred to throughout phase one, that wording in some more of these. So I'm thinking maybe we go down and look at some more of these conditions and then come back to that and decide how to word it?
Sounds good.
Just leave
Sounds
that
good.
unchecked.
Sounds good. Okay, number 4.
So number 4, I've said that Noonan's would provide and maintain the maximum number of on-site painted parking spaces throughout Phase 1, minimally 32 painted spaces. I cannot verify that. Are there 32 painted spaces? Did anybody get a count?
According to this, there's 32
Yeah,
in that,
that,
And
in
then-
parentheses there.
those are counted.
Okay.
And
And
as
there's
I
an
mentioned,
addition, let me see. Are the 14
so
right in front of the golf course?
if I could turn your
So
attention
you
to the
had 3,
screen.
you had 3 to the right of the facility on the
So,
ground as of the
yeah,
other
these,
day.
these are all painted. So
Okay.
first of all, I'm only looking at the parking, directly tributary to the mini golf. So everything over here is not part of what we're talking about.
Right.
That's separate. So we have 32 spaces here. These are striped. They have to stripe the 2 last spaces here only. These are gravel, these are gravel, these are gravel, these are gravel, and they have the 2 handicap spaces in a loading zone with signs on the end of that aisle. And then while I'm here, the access is up through this direction. There's a concrete sidewalk.
Actually, I think,
What's that?
Scott, you have a few spaces just above the greenhouse there, just as you come in to the left. Up a
Right.
little, you have about 6 spaces painted on
This-
pavement there.
Yes. Oh, here?
Go up a little higher. Nope,
No, there you had 3.
No.
Here.
down.
Right
Right where his pen is.
Up, Rob.
Those spaces.
Right there.
up above.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right
yeah.
in there.
Okay, right. So the pavement kind of comes across this direction, the
Yes.
existing pavement line.
So we've got at least 32.
But,
Yeah.
but that's going to be part of your construction path for building the,
On phase 2, yeah.
But
so
you're not,
that-
you're not
We're only
going,
talking about.
well, they
now.
can, yeah, I know, but they can start phase 2 at any time. If he's got 32, I think 32 is a good number.
So what's laid
If
out
your
on the ground
business-
right now?
Does 32 work for you?
well, if you could,
Yeah.
let's go on, because the
Okay.
next one says that to provide and maintain a minimum of 86 total parking spaces southerly of the entrance drive throughout Phase 1. Now, there's 86 spaces plus or minus southerly of that driveway now. And I'm suggesting, for starters, at Phase 1, let's maintain those 86. And we'll, a little bit further down, it's a see as it goes, see how it goes thing.
Point taken, Mr. Chairman. Question?
Yeah, all right.
How does that line up with the comments from the fire chief, who was looking at a fire lane and thought that the handicap spaces?
So that's new information, that's part of Heidi's criteria, so
Yeah.
we will get to that, okay?
Okay, I'm just, that might have to disappear. Those spaces that we're talking about where the HP is now.
Might
the
be some
signage
loss
is,
of
And I saw
the-
signage Monday, Saturday,
So,
up there.
so we'll,
Okay, but it's a consideration for the number. That's all.
absolutely,
Just,
got it,
we'll get back to it, got it?
got it,
Yep.
that's a good point.
And so that, we'll have to maybe come back to that as well. And to maintain 2 now signed and designated handicap spaces in the southwesterly corner, but that too might be in play with the fire chief's comments. So we may have to come back to 4, 5, and 6. Noonan's to provide and maintain the 3 planters at each end of the 28 space. They've done that, they're in place. And that was the suggestion there. So I think number 8 can be checked off.
8 is parking surfaces.
I'm sorry, number 7.
Is okay,
Number 7.
everybody all set with 7? Okay.
Number 8 is something that you would condition for them to do, and what I'm saying there is this is a gravel surface, and it's gonna need to be maintained, on a weekly basis. You're gonna have to run whatever equipment you've got there, backhoe, back drag it, just to keep it smooth, so we don't have any trip rows of gravel, divots, settled areas. So that's going to be up to them, but I think it's something you should put into, any-
You're okay with that? Is the board?
I'm
No
good with
reason
that.
not to be okay with that, good.
Something we would do anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And maintaining the 86 parking spaces southerly of the access drive. And if all the employees can park over here to the right, to the
So
north?
the employees actually park mostly in
Back
the
in there?
rear,
Okay.
in this area here.
Okay.
Still.
But wherever the employees would park would not be in the area, in the 86 area, just so we know that as we go down the road here over the course of the next year, that do we have enough parking spaces as we go into phase two? How many can we afford to give up to go into phase two? So that was the purpose of number 9. And number 10 is that I say throughout phase 1, the planning board will monitor the overall site operations, including specifically the parking demand and availability. Approaching the termination of phase 1 and prior to the startup of phase 2, the planning board, Noonan's, their consultants, would meet, discuss, outline the parking, the access, and other conditions applicable to phase 2.
The only thing I'd like to do is
So-
substitute Georgetown's technical review agent for the planning board. Throughout phase 1,
You can't come by every Friday morning?
well, I don't think it should, you know.
Well, I think the
you
planning
mean
board
the other
meeting
way.
are their designated representatives.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that could be Heidi, it could be
Or you
H.L.
guys,
Graham,
yeah.
it could be Vargo.
So the
whatever.
planning board's designated
Yeah.
representative. Okay.
So now those are the references to phase 1. Now maybe it'll help to figure out how to reword.
So I'm just going back to number 3. I have some proposed language that I
Great.
hopefully this will cover it. Phase 1 approval and use shall terminate on July 15, 2017. However, Phase 1 use may, and approval and use may be extended with approval of the planning board, provided Phase 2 has commenced, and the remainder of the conditions herein are met.
I think that sounded good.
Yeah, I do.
Could you say that once
Sure.
more, please?
Phase 1 approval and use shall terminate on July 15, 2017. However, Phase 1 approval and use may be extended with the approval of the planning board, provided Phase 2 has commenced, and the remainder of these conditions contained herein are continue to be met.
How do you guys, how does
I
that
saw
sound to
you-
you guys?
I have a question. You know, is there any place where phase 1 and phase 2 are clearly delineated?
No.
Because we're saying
No, because.
they've got to finish phase 1 by 7:15, but we're going to continue phase 1. I don't know what that means.
Well, I think we're saying that this
It's
is,
the
I
use.
think this is Phase 1, that we're saying when these
Mhm.
conditions are met, they've finished Phase 1, correct? Okay.
What's being continued?
That use of this Phase 1.
The use.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the key. I
Yeah.
want to make sure
Yeah.
that there's no ambiguity, that you're going to continue to have use.
The use, instead of, however, phase 2 may continue, however, the use of the mini golf may continue
That's what I
into
would like
phase
to
2
make
is what
sure.
you're, provided.
Provided it's following.
Yeah, as long as you folks come back prior to that, before beginning phase 2, right? That's the part.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think it's real clear. in
We
the
want you to be
wording.
able to be able to keep using the golf course, but we just want to make sure that that's feasible, and, you know, Larry's gonna have to be our guide in that.
Mhm.
Now, do you want to work in the not later than 7/15/17? That's a date that they suggested.
Well,
So my.
So that there's
so
a clear end to
seven-
phase 1.
Right.
It
So-
doesn't drag on forever.
Exactly, and that, so my first sentence covers that, so that if by 7/15/2017, they haven't come back to us and told us how they're gonna start Phase 2.
The use terminates.
The
Use
use terminates.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Phase 1 approval
I'm good
and
with that.
use.
Yeah, so they're not just, and I'm sure you have no interest in this, but so they're not just sitting on the golf course saying, hey, this is making us money, we don't need to do the Phase 2, and let's move on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna ask you to read it one
Sure.
more time for everybody.
Phase 1 approval and use shall terminate on July 15th, 2017. However, Phase 1 use may be extended with the approval of the planning board, provided Phase 2 has commenced on or before 7/15/2017, and the remainder of the conditions contained herein are met.
That makes sense to me. The board okay?
I think that expresses what we're trying to get out.
How about you, Larry?
Okay with that?
Applicant, you guys?
Yeah.
Scott?
With the exception of figure out the parking thing?
Yep. On that
I'm good with
particular
that,
one?
yeah, because those
Okay.
would obviously change.
Okay, so that takes care of number
Number
3.
3, I think we can go back. Number 4 is fine. I think we have decided that we have a minimum number of 32 painted spaces. It looks like we have more like 35 or 6 that probably will not be changed by the fire department's comments, but maybe number 5 and number 6.
Is the board okay with 4? I agree.
32 right there.
32 is right
Yeah,
there.
16,
Right there.
16.
So
No.
that works
Yeah,
before
we're
the
not-
fire gets involved.
Mhm, yeah.
Okay, so 4 is okay. Everybody's on the same.
Just one quick question. Was it 32 plus the HPs or 32 with HPs inclusive?
32 painted parking spaces,
Got it.
not designated as HC or not.
Okay, so
Because
the HPs are on
not
top of
painted.
that.
They're not painted.
Right, but they're on top of that. Okay. I'm good.
Incidentally, the site in Ipswich at White Farms, just for your information, has 50 parking spaces on the nose. And it went in a couple of years ago now. And they've had besides the golf, they have a pizza. They've had pizza. They now have a little cafe, and they have a huge ice cream stand there that's people have gone to forever. Just so the board, has some point of reference, perhaps for parking spaces, not to, I don't know how to attach the garden center, versus the ice cream stand
Huh.
and the pizza place, but,
It's a friendly-
I don't
it's a
think that the
reference.
number of parking spaces here are tremendously understated.
So,
in what we're looking at.
With a-
That's a point, good point. I got it.
I have a 5-year-old right now, and so I'm kind of a mini golf connoisseur.
It's a great game.
There are mini golf courses that are afterthoughts, and then there are mini golf courses that are attractions. And I would suggest that the level of parking needed for White Farms may not be the same as it might be at a place that the mini golf
Yeah.
is really the focus of the place. So.
So spoken by the aficionado. So 5 and 6.
5 and 6 probably relate to the fire department, which I don't have information on,
Okay.
but I do want to talk about one last thing that came to my mind.
Before we go to that item,
okay.
on
Mhm.
number 6, so the handicap spaces, they don't have to be paved?
No,
Okay, good enough. All set.
How many spaces are there now?
On the existing site?
Yeah.
You had to ask.
Uh-huh.
Got the plan over there. I can count them up for
Roughly,
you.
yeah, roughly. I mean, is it comparable? Is it 10 less?
No, this is a lot more.
Bob, where are you talking? In the whole site? On the whole
In
site?
this area.
Oh, there's 86 in that area.
In this area
Yeah,
now.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm asking is how many are there at present? This is the plan. Are there 86 at present?
No,
Well, yeah.
not,
That's
not
why-
on the,
that's
not
why
on the
I'm-
ground as of,
Yes, there are. I mean,
At this
Those all
point in
up.
time, there are 86 on the
yeah,
ground.
there's provisions for, there's room for 86.
provisions for them.
Yeah. No, because they're not lined on the ground because it's not paved.
Right.
So you
That's
have,
so on the entire site, so this is in the back, on the side, so north of this area, and on that side, there's 81 total. We're having 86 just on that side, plus 11. Sorry, my vision isn't that great.
I think there's a decimal right here, right?
There's well over 100 spaces net, so 86, 11, 97, 102, and they can fit about 20 employees back here, so there's around 120 parking spaces available on the property now.
So you're basically adding 7 to this area, and there's there's another 20 somewhere.
We're adding about 40 to that area right now. There's 81 existing, and we're gonna have close to 120.
On the
when this
whole-
is
on the
done.
whole
So
lot,
it's
yeah.
between 40 and 50 additional parking spaces in this gravel area that are already marked off.
Okay. That,
Mm.
you just, okay. So you had one more item.
yes.
You can have as many as you want.
I don't know exactly how this was worked out, if it was worked out, but it's about lighting. And I think as I was going through some of the communications, it caught my eye that hours of operation for the golf was proposed to go till 10 p.m. And no pun intended, but the light came on. Wow. We're in the middle of summer. We've got 16 hours of daylight. Nobody's thinking about when it's going to get dark. And these guys, you guys are considering this temporary approval, and in a few months at, 7 PM, from 7 to 10 PM, do we have enough light there to be safe with respect to parking your vehicle and walking from the golf to your car, from your car to the golf? And so last night, we asked Noonan's, and they obliged to turn on all the lights, and Jerry went by at about 9:15 and suggests that the lighting in the southeasterly corner of the site is not what we would like to see and recommend to the board as being adequate. So we sent an email out this afternoon suggesting how that might be accomplished with some lights. Of course, it can be done with temporary lights and a generator. But we also said in that email that perhaps the board might consider a restriction tied to when it gets dark for the next 30 days or 45 days, whatever the board might
1.5 hour after
consider.
sunset?
Yeah, something, until they get the area lighted that we feel we can recommend the board is sufficient.
So, thanks for sending that email. These guys have been jumping on everything. They really want to get this place up. The electrician is coming tomorrow to install 2 floodlights, one on the pole that exists here, directing down into this area, and the other on the pole around here, directing in this direction to illuminate this area. So that work will be ready, and you could inspect it as early as Friday morning, if you were available to do that.
Friday night,
Friday night.
after dark,
Friday night's fine too.
Thursday night after dark, whatever. But that was our recommendation, so if they're gonna do that, I think it's gonna solve the problem.
That's great. The only thing I would add is that, lighting ordinance, the whole, so for now, just make sure that when you're driving along the road, like unfortunately, when you drive by some other establishments, the flood lighting is partially shining on the road.
Mhm.
So just be conscious of
Yeah,
that.
I think the way these were set up, and we can downcast them and point them away from the road, and it's going to achieve what we're doing. This corner up here in the finished product will have the lighting, from the building, so that isn't a concern at that point. But it is a gap right now without the building there. So it was a good observation by Larry.
So will this is temporary?
Temporary.
lighting?
So this will go in the finished design.
So.
Very glad you guys could do that.
So-
'Cause I apologize for it coming up late, it's just one of those things, it almost fell through the cracks.
We've
But we
been
caught.
jumping on everything that you've asked us to do.
And I
This is
can
the last
certainly
hurdle,
vouch for that.
hopefully, But we'll get it done.
Okay.
So temporary flood lighting.
What, I read something, but it said it's 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yes, under the ZBA special permit.
under the ZBA permit
Correct.
all week long.
Monday through Friday.
Monday
10
through
a.m.
Friday, and then
And Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday through Sunday, and Friday through Sunday. Actually, I just put
so
Wednesday,
all
yeah.
week.
10 to 10. yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
Oh, we're
that-
doing
that
it
went
That's
well.
all I have,
That's great.
subject to the fire department and these.
Right,
number
so we
5
have
and 6.
outstanding 5 and 6 from your list, and so then I think it would be Heidi and what you have.
Okay, so after the last meeting, I emailed different department heads and the building inspector and Larry to get feedback. One of the issues that came up was that a member or 2 members of the board wanted the planning board review agent to certify that the site had adequate egress and access. And Larry had indicated that that's just not something that he's going to, I think that poses liability issues for him, is what, but you can expand on that if you want.
Yeah, I can,
Yeah.
I thought I was done, but I guess I'm not.
Well, just to.
The 16583, your site plan approval and your bylaw says, purpose and conditions of approval. The purposes of a site plan approval are to protect the health, safety, convenience, welfare of the inhabitants of the town of Georgetown, as well as the natural resources that people depend upon, by providing a comprehensive review of land use and development plans to ensure that the following conditions have been met. And it lists 7 conditions, and would submit that probably conditions 6 and 7 are not applicable. And I would also submit that we have reviewed conditions 1 through 5 and are suggesting to you that the temporary consideration of temporary use is appropriate because they have met those conditions.
I'm sorry, Larry, but you're referencing numbers that
I'm
I'm
sorry.
not looking at.
I jumped
I'm very
quickly.
sorry.
16583 in your bylaw, and I just have my
Yeah,
one copy.
I think,
Okay, now we're talking, all right,
Page 72.
love you.
I think the certification that is being mentioned is maybe a misunderstanding of the word certification. I think what the intent of the board was that Larry Graham was reviewing these items, site plan approval, protecting health, safety, welfare, and he was saying this works, this works, this works, if this doesn't, lighting, you gotta do this, this, this. This approval that we just went through is his certification, but he's not putting something in writing saying, I hereby swear to health, safety, welfare should be protected. I think that's.
Way too broad.
I think that's the disconnect. So I think I think what Larry's done is exactly what needs to be done. I think the certification is not realistic.
So you're saying that 16583 really doesn't apply to what we're looking for?
No, I think it does.
No, it does.
I think it does,
It does.
and I think conditions 1 through 5 apply, and I think we have been through them ourselves as well as the board and making recommendations to the board about them. And that is how the board is supposed to review a site plan and make a decision, that in fact it does protect the health, safety, and convenience and welfare of the inhabitants.
So
I would
basically,
agree.
you're only looking at number 5.
I would agree.
That's really what we're looking at.
We've been talking a lot about number 5, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, mostly about number 5, let me put that,
I think I'm with you.
yeah. Number 4 is pretty appropriate too,
Parking,
right?
Yeah.
So on that issue, I think the board has done what we need to do and we're all set. Would you all agree? Okay, so that issue's addressed. Next up, Heidi?
Okay, so chapter 16583D6A. And it references occupancy permits, but I'm just gonna read it. What it says is no occupancy permits, and I know it's looking for a temp certificate, phasing plan, shall be issued for any building or structure or portion thereof until the planning board receives an as-built plan and certification from an engineer, land surveyor, blah, 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 that all construction has been done in accordance with the approved site plan. Number 2 says the planning board agent verifies that all conditions of the approved site plan have been met with notice to the building inspector. And then the next section, 6B, says, however, occupancy permits may be issued for a portion of any building or structure upon approval by the planning board if the only work left incomplete is the driveway, top course, and landscaping. So what happened was, we kind of discussed that briefly. Someone had mentioned at the last board they were concerned about precedent, so I wanted to bring that up and touch on it for you and discuss it. But primarily what happened was we coordinated with the building inspector, and at the last meeting, the proponent's attorney indicated that this phasing plan temporary use could be tied to a temporary CO. And at that time, we had referenced the 7th version of the building code. And currently, we're actually on the 8th version of the building code. And the building code states that temporary CO shall not be permitted for more than 180 days. It can be extended by the building official at any time after that. Section 108.2 conformance states that temporary structures and uses shall conform to the structural strength, fire safety, means of egress, accessibility, light, ventilation, and sanitary requirements of this code to ensure the public health, safety, and general welfare. That triggered me to want to discuss with the fire chief what he thought about that. And what the fire chief sent to me, he sent quite a bit, actually. Would you like me to read it into the record, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, sure.
Chairman,
Okay.
I don't mean to cut you
It's
off,
okay.
Heidi, but I'm trying to catch up with what you were.
I know,
you threw a lot out
I
there.
speak quickly,
Threw a lot
so
out
I'll
there,
slow
and
down.
I'm looking at what is, section 6 occupancy permits, what is it, 2B?
Yes,
Occupancy permits may be issued for a portion of any building or structure upon approval by the planning board if the only work left incomplete is the driveway top course and the landscaping.
But isn't that occupancy permit specific to the building, the structure? It's not to this use of, that's how I,
Yeah, I don't deal with use. We deal with site plan. Use is ZBA.
correct,
Yeah.
but site plan portion of this is not structure or building. The pitch front course is not
So what-
structure or
Yeah.
building. or-
yes.
So what are we talking about then? Why
So,
are we talking
um,
about an occupancy permit?
I can expand upon that if it helps. So from the building inspector, he stated the certificate issued would really just apply to the ticketing booth. The general use of the facility as it applies to Georgetown zoning. And then he discussed the ZBA. And then he says the temporary CO can be issued for a specific time frame. The certificate is valid for the time frame indicated. So the question, I think, is if the temporary shed structure, which is what the only building permit has been issued to date, and I'll try to go slow, would be used as a ticketing booth. And if the certificate only just applies to the booth, is that booth considered a temporary use? Which it would then make it to be considered tied to the site plan. Did I say that too quickly? I may have.
That would make it considered tied to what?
Yes,
Tied to the
to
site
the
plan?
portion of any building or use thereof, and the zoning as well,
On the
too.
notion
Or
that-
portion thereof.
That the shed, the ticket booth, was never part of the original site plan? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, correct.
So this is a modification of the site plan?
I did raise that issue in my memo to them, yes.
This is so messy, man.
So, everything you said, I think.
Is that too quick?
No, I think you're absolutely on point with everything you said. And I think that if this were ever to go to appeal by some concerned member of the public, we would be on very shaky ground. I'm not saying that as a legal opinion, I'm saying that as solely as my personal understanding of what was just read.
Mhm.
That being said, it's a golf course. Nothing's gonna fall on anybody's head. There's no, we're not talking about somewhere where people are going to be congregating. It's a mini golf course. And
And they could be setting up a card table and this would be moot, right? So, how do we contain the molehill? I don't want a mountain, I just want the molehill. How do we make sure it stays a mole? Are there, so it's a temporary structure, building? What
The
specific?
shed is
so
being
has-
used for the ticketing booth.
So
Right, but what is it? It's a shed?
It was a shed and now it's being used as a ticketing booth. So when you walk in, there's a ticketing booth and then they're gonna, you get like the golf card course, whatever those little forms are that you fill out. And as you walk through the site, then you can kind of go around and they have little sheets that depict landscaping and what you can purchase as you walk through the golf course.
Beautiful.
It's an existing shed though, right? It's that existing structure that used to be where you'd sell the stuff out of from and whatnot.
And they'll be picked up and moved over to the side.
So,
This
help
has
me-
to do
help me
with the
plan.
use. This has to do with the use, and that's not ours.
No,
As Harry
that
said.
isn't us.
It has to
Not
do
our
with the
bailiwick.
use. They're moving this for use. It's not a permanent structure. It's not,
Temp-
it's well,
Well, it will, well, it is
it's
gonna-
being used temporarily, even though it is not a temporary structure. It's been out there for years, right?
No,
Yeah,
it
I
is a
think we're-
temporary structure.
It has no foundation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
no,
I may,
that's
we're
not a
not,
foundation.
we're not seeking an occupancy permit for the structure or the use of this ticket booth. So my take on this was that this section does not apply because we're not asking for a certificate of occupancy.
That's what I was gonna ask the board to help me with.
Okay.
I've gotten confused with, it seems like there are two issues now on the board. One was the occupancy permit, which I don't think applies. And two was then this issue of an amendment to the site plan. this,
Those aside, if,
so I was getting confused. I thought we were talking about
those aside, and without the ticket booth, if you didn't need a certificate of occupancy for the ticket booth, and I'm not being facetious when I say that, why are you here?
Because we're asking to bring the
Sounds like you
mini
can-
golf facility online before the project, I mean.
But from
we-
everything that I'm reading from the building inspector,
You don't need our,
you don't need anything.
We didn't think we did.
I think
We're
this
trying to
is
keep
just-
you guys
This is
up to
telling
date.
here.
We're
Yeah.
trying to keep you guys up to date with what's going on.
I think that's why they're
We
here.
thought it was
Well, I-
unusual to break this up into two phases,
Well, I-
so we wanted to come to you and ask for two phases.
Yeah.
Appreciate
I-
it.
Bringing the occupancy permit into it, I just think confuses the matter.
I concur with that.
Yeah.
The reason they're here, are you talking about in general or because of the reason they're here with
think in
specific to the
general.
occupancy?
No, no, I'm
What are they
saying
asking for?
from-
What-
from-
yeah.
it sounds like they don't need anything from us at this point. The building inspector, I mean, if you
Well, they-
set up a card table,
The only thing they need from us is this list we're going through, and that we have this agreement on these outstanding items, that as they move forward,
What
the health,
conditions are
safety,
we?
welfare is
Right.
protected for the town, because it is a phased plan now, and it was never intended to be a phased plan. That's why they're here.
But
Yeah. And we do consider this minor and insubstantial, and we're still going
Push the
through
board.
and gonna finish and execute the plan, but last thing we want is to have you guys driving by and seeing them playing mini golf out there and say,
I see. So
What's
we need
going
to
on?
make a vote that the.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a
On these-
motion
on these.
that this be determined to be an insignificant change to the site plan approval.
Okay, I'm
Second.
okay with that. Motion's
Right.
been made, for the record to
Determine this.
determine that the applicant's project turning into a two-phase project is an insignificant modification to the site plan approved. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
So that's in there for the record.
So that takes care of the
Takes care of that.
modification issue. That's off the table now,
Um,
right?
So,
I did.
so the occupancy permit issue, I don't see right now as an issue.
I think we're.
Does anybody see the occupancy permit as an issue?
The only issue I see right now,
Yeah.
just because it was brought up, was a comment made, I thought in an email, and I read 1,000 of them this morning today, from the fire chief about a fire lane.
Okay, so the fire lane is gonna come back again. It looks like this is, it looks like this fire lane issue is gonna have a number of items associated with it, and we're gonna focus on the fire lane, so I've got it.
Yeah.
Doesn't the
But-
fire chief have independent authority to address the fire lane as he, isn't that his,
Elliot?
It's his call in terms of how he needs it. yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So do we need, do we need to consider what he's,
I think the building inspector needs to consider.
not
that.
us?
I guess what I'd
But
like
I
to
mean-
do is wait till we get to, let's keep going through Heidi's list, and we're gonna get to the fire chief's item.
Okay.
Oh,
I think that's
just,
the
So,
six-foot
I
umbrella.
just, for the record, I just wanna, so the two issues that you brought up with the occupancy permit, and
yes.
was there another one in there, or is it just the occupancy permit?
No, I just read the section regarding
So,
occupancy
so the
permits
board
and building
is in
infrastructure.
agreement that the occupancy permit in this case is non-applicable. We're, okay, so that takes care of that item, okay?
Okay,
Next.
so, the water department had no issues. The conservation commission just cares that the entire project is built to plan. The police department had no issues with the proposal set forth. And the fire chief, I guess we're going to let him work that out with the building inspector from what you just said.
So now we need to talk about the fire chief, because that's what you've been asking about, because there's
Yeah.
parking associated with this and the other things.
Yeah, and again, I can't find what I read,
I can,
but you probably can.
I can.
And there was something about, excuse me, there was something about a fire lane affecting the handicap parking spaces.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, so, yeah, I can show you exactly, and this is just where we want to make sure we're clear on the number of parking spaces, and I think we're fine. So the fire lane, convenient timing right there.
Omar.
What a time for it to time out, huh?
This has been a couple seconds to warm up. Bear with me. Want to make sure everybody can see. Gotta adjust those power settings.
Here it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So fire trucks come in. This would be the fire lane access, and we're putting the handicap spaces currently right here. This is the access onto the sidewalk, and then there's a fence all the way up. So if you were up here with a gurney and you need to cart somebody off in an emergency, you got to come down and go out the sidewalk, and they want to be able to pick up. So what I would contend is there's two signs here. We're going to shift those up to here and here, or another location that's appropriate for the handicap access, and we'll keep this area open. We also have the flexibility to open up this area if we need to. Right now there's a temporary shed. The porta potty has been put here, and there's just some retail inventory in this area. So we have plenty of room to adjust this. And if the fire chief wanted a wider lane, which it's already 30 feet wide as it's striped off right now, this line is where they have inventory, we can push this in and open this area up and make it wider if need be. So I think this is something we can easily work out. I know they'll be on the phone with them in the morning to have them come down, and if they want to bring the truck down even and drive it in, I think we can figure that out.
So I'm just jumping ahead. So the issue of the fire lane coming in, the handicap parking spaces, moving those, widening it, that discussion sounds like it's a discussion that you and the fire chief can work out. You're comfortable with working that out. You're confident you can work that out. We can say contingent upon that being worked out.
Contingent.
Okay, so that takes care of that issue.
Yeah.
Was there some other issue with the fire chief, though, that affected parking spaces, or
No,
was that
it's
it?
exactly what it's saying, those two.
Yeah, I think he just
All right, so that brings us back to items, what, 5 and 6?
So, well, 6 I think talks about the handicap spaces. We're going to have 2 handicap spaces regardless, so I would suspect that is all set.
Regardless of where you have to move them, you're gonna have.
We're going to have them.
So that's,
I'm ready to check that
so
off.
6
Mr.
is
Chairman.
checked off, yeah. And 5, Noonan supervisor maintain 86.
And I would say if we lose 4 parking spaces here, basically the width of the aisle, and just keep that whole area open, that number would go to 82.
I'm fine with
Not a
that.
problem.
You all set with that, Larry?
Yep.
Technical review agent says he's okay? I'm okay.
I
We'll
think
change
you have
that
a
to
lot of
82.
spaces.
I do
Yep.
too. Okay. All right,
I
so,
hope you fill them.
yeah, contingent upon fire chief approval. Okay, what else, Heidi?
That was pretty much it.
So
What
now
are we
would
missing?
Need a motion to approve phase 1 with these conditions.
Correct.
Okay.
Before we do that, you guys all set? Larry, is there anything outstanding for you in this?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to read what Ms. Evangelista told me that she wanted to read into the record, please.
Do you want to say it? Sure.
Yes, it says, Noonan's business has been a good family business for the town. I have been a resident of Georgetown since 1971 and involved with town bylaws and regulations. I have never been aware of any problems created by the nursery business, which in this small town, bad news would spread rapidly. I believe their word is good, and their request granted will show them that Georgetown appreciates their business and trust that they will continue same with this new proposal. Tilly.
Excellent.
Very good. Okay. So we have, before the motion is made, we have, you can almost refer to Larry's letter. And the only additional item to Larry's letter would be the contingent upon fire chief's approval in writing, on the access, right?
In the wording of
And the
3.
rewording of number 3.
And the, oh, okay, so that has to be, right? So 3 needs to be redone.
So, his letter as modified, yes.
Okay, so that's the
And
gist of
number
it.
10 was changed, planning board, for his
Which is
designated
planning board
representative.
Designated rep, but that was changed, so is as, so this would be as noted, modified. So, who's willing to
Mr.
take a look at
Chairman,
it?
I will make a motion that the board grant approval to Noonan's Florists to continue operating on, as phase 1, subject to the conditions outlined in Larry's letter, and the phase 1 temporary use approval dated July 21st, 2016, as amended at this meeting.
And fire chief.
With the additions, yeah, I can
Fire
enumerate,
chief.
you want to enumerate them all with the
No.
additions?
No,
Okay.
that's all right.
I mean, that's to be incorporated in, the fire chief thing, right? That'll all be incorporated into this.
This
So
list,
the
this
fire chief, the lights, number
fire
three.
chief, the lights, and a re-description of number 3.
Sounds like they're taking care of the lights. Yeah. Or we'll be taking care of the lights.
Is Larry coming to visit us Friday night or Jerry?
Thursday night, Friday night, whatever night you
Big
is.
Friday night.
Okay, okay.
He likes pitch and putt.
Second on the motion.
Okay, motion's been made and it's
Friday
been
night.
seconded
I like
to-
ice cream more.
to approve Noonan's opening of Phase 1 as submitted, subject to the conditions of H.L. Graham Associates, conditions for planning board consideration, Phase 1 temporary use approval, dated July 21st, 2016, with modification, with amended as noted, period,
This evening.
this evening. Amended as noted this evening. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
There you go, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Thank-
lot.
And thank you for, I thought this was a very thorough, open, and cooperative process, so thank you
I
for
agree.
your attention to it.
Yeah, usually.
Do you know when you're
Always.
gonna, do you know when you're
Always.
gonna open? Do you have a sense? It's Friday?
Do you need to be here for
Harry,
training leave? Does
I
he
need
need to be here
tell
for
you
training
something
leave?
that's
I
been
don't think so.
bothering me. At the last meeting, I told you that the ice cream had a handicap
Unless you
valve.
wanna be.
I'm not familiar with the specifications. We had set it up like that, but it's only a 4-foot radius inside, not a 5-foot, so it's officially not a handicap, and you were right.
But Saturday morning, when I drove down there, the first thing I noticed was that you had a portable handicap.
Yeah, we have one.
And it looked good. It looked good Saturday morning.
Yeah,
Good luck.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good night.
It's hugely successful.
Take a,
Wanna take a 5-minute
I think he
recess?
needs to.
Oh, okay.
5 or 6.
Sure.
Would you let him know 5 minutes, please?
What is turning leaf?
Thank you.
An interesting
Good time
times.
to end that conversation. So we have old business. Next up is Turning Leaf subdivision bond request. Welcome, Jill.
Jill Mann here on behalf of Turning Leaf LLC. Just seeking a couple of things. So one, we had filed for a bond reduction because the improvements in the roadway had been done, substantially, and we were looking for a release from that money. And as I had discussed, or at least mentioned, I shouldn't say discussed, mentioned during the last hearing, is that we would love to entertain the ability to, instead of taking that cash, which is in the amount of about $231,000, in lieu of that, allowing it to be applied so that we could actually get additional releases of lots. Part of that is asking the indulgence of the board and the consideration of the board, because we had such a hard time getting our regulatory agreement approved. And we actually still are having a little bit of an issue. I think that, I'm not sure why, but we can't get our the building permits with regard to our approval. I mean, our affordable have not been issued. We were told we had to come here tonight.
Oh, well, because you don't have a lot release for lot
You don't-
19.
Right, you don't require lot releases for building permits, if you remember, you only require them. And I just wanted, I think that maybe just, we needed to talk about this as a board so that Heidi would know, Murphy, would know what the process was, because if we can't get our building permit for affordable, we can never get any additional releases. And there was no requirement in your decision to hold up building permits.
I'm sorry, if I may, you're lumping a lot of issues together, and
I
you
know,
kind
but
of lost me a little bit.
So because I'm trying to figure out, okay, so let's talk about the first issue. I just needed,
What works for me really well is one issue at a time.
that's what I just said. So let's do one issue. So the issue would be if this board could actually issue a, I don't know if it's a clarification, saying that the covenant does not impede the issuance of building permits, only controls the sale of units.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Please.
Please.
You're talking about what we're referring to as lot 19 or something?
Yep,
which
our-
is the
our affordable lot.
second affordable unit.
Any of them to get a building permit, right?
Okay, well, 30, what is it,
30
38?
Lisa, it would be 30
38?
Lisa Lane.
30.
44 Cyril, which is now 38
Oh, it's
Lisa.
sold.
32.
It's sold, that's clear, we're not talking about that,
No,
that
no.
satisfied your requirement.
We satisfy the
Well,
requirement.
You're one of your two.
So now we
Now
are,
you're working on lot 19.
We're trying to
You wanna
build
begin
it.
building it. You, or not you, but the Turning Leaf Organization LLC owns that lot.
yes,
You own that lot.
yeah.
And you're in the position now of trying to get a building permit on a lot that you own, and you can't get a building permit because of a sign-off. Am I correct?
I think Ms. Murphy thought that it was a requirement that this board release from the covenant in order to get the building permit. And that's why I just want the clarification to be made that all building permits may be issued, subject to completion and the ability, the building inspector obviously saying we can have them. I just wanted to make that clarification clear, because two of our building permits are not being signed off on.
If I may, my understanding of how it works is,
Please.
if you own a lot, which it seems you do,
You do.
you can build anything you want on it. The planning board signs off on that, on the building inspector's building permit, because there's a subdivision permit there in place. And you should get a sign off from the planning office for the sign off sheet.
Town planner in this case.
Town planner in this case, and this is gonna keep coming, you're gonna get these all the time,
Right.
a couple of months probably. And that is not the covenant that protects the town as a form of surety.
Yes.
They can't sell that lot. They can build it if they wish. They can build upon it. Build a spec home if they wanted to. Right now, they're designated for the affordable housing unit, but that's one that you would sign off on,
Okay.
as long as they own it.
So I understand, so our surety, our protection is that they can have the building permit and they can build whatever they want,
Mhm.
is, subject to the building inspector, but then we maintain the lot release approval, and that protects our, okay, all right, correct.
Because we can't sell, but I just want to make it clear that it doesn't simply pertain to the affordable, but to every single lot in the subdivision, just so that
So provided,
Heidi
as long as
understands.
you own the.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
we,
You own
I
everything.
couldn't even, so for example, if I had lot 30, right, there isn't a lot 30, I apologize. If I have lot 9, I can't sell it to anyone, I can't sell it. I have the covenant, but I can build on it. And then once I get to a certain point and I've satisfied the next steps, then I can get the release. So I just wanted to make that
So
clear
is
so I
that-
can get sign-offs.
Does that sound
That's
clear to you?
helpful. That, what you just explained, how, I just, in other communities I've worked in, I've always had to have the planning board sign off on a lot release prior to issuing a building permit, so,
And if there's, if
I-
I may, if there's
it
ever
just
any
seemed-
question about signing off, please bring it to the board.
Yeah.
okay,
Ever any question.
okay.
But, and that's what, honestly, that's what I mean, I'm not, believe me when I tell you, she's doing what she was supposed to do and come here. I just wanted to make sure that was one of the things we cleared up.
We go through this with every new
Yeah,
planner.
and
It's
I-
it's a learning
Alright.
thing. You're
Yeah,
you're gonna
exactly.
know what the board leases.
No, because every town is different.
Okay.
So issue 1.
Issue
So
one,
now
right.
issue 2. So we were hopeful that we could use a portion of what would be our entitlement to disbursement to be applied and held as continued surety for the completion of the affordable home. In other words, in our decision, it says that we cannot get any more releases until the affordable home is constructed. We clearly had impediments to our ability to construct because we are not permitted to even secure a building permit for that project until the regulatory agreement is executed. As the board knows, we submitted the first regulatory agreement in November. It sat in Neverland from November until it was executed sometime in June. So as a result, we were held up for 6 full months. And now we're simply asking this board, in consideration of the fact that we were held up to no fault of the developer, if we can allow that $216,000 to be retained by the town as surety, not released until the affordable home is constructed.
Can I ask-
And please do.
May I ask a question? Oh,
Yeah.
Matt, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, at this point, I thought on the registry of deeds, I saw 2 regulatory agreements. You have the
You do.
agreement in place
Ownership
for
and
19
rental.
already.
I have to do both, yeah.
Right, okay. So at this point, in accordance with the tripartite agreement, that surety is only for the ways of the subdivision roadway.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that you would in any way do it, but from what I'm hearing, it almost sounds like this board needs to release the funds to you. You take the funds back, and then at that point, you turn around with a separate agreement to the board
I can do that, or
for the
you,
benefit of the board and for the surety of the town, because
it's up to you. I
that
can.
tripartite has nothing to do with affordable housing
No,
legally.
we can expand it, and but when I wrote the disbursement, I wrote it to expand it. That's why, and actually, when I included it with like highlighted language that just showed that expanded terminology. And again,
Supplement.
it's definitely something to discuss with the
Supplement.
There's
board.
no color on the copy machine, so it'd be
Right.
difficult, but.
Okay, so all the color is black, looks like all the
Oh,
other,
I'm sorry,
right?
it
So
didn't, you
you're
didn't get it.
talking about
so-
the disbursement
bad.
certificate under the tripartite?
Yeah.
But, so there's only 2 of the 3 parties here that are signing off on this, correct? I mean, by definition.
Yes,
So
yes, you're right.
we would need the bank to sign off on this as well.
Again, this was, yep, we're here for discussion. The bank has no issue signing off on anything, and I know you would need something signed, and that's a breeze to get done, but they're not gonna sign off on something unless they know that you're going to do it. They don't just sign, as you well know how a bank can be. So this is something that is outside of anything we've ever discussed before, so I bring it before you. And that's why I'm asking. So essentially, the bank's interest is just being held. It doesn't really care what it's holding its security for. It simply cares what the protocol is for disbursement and placement and their obligation to you.
I understand that. My point being that, though, that if we didn't get that signature, and I of course know that this is not going to happen, but you'll just, leave. I don't think that this would be enforceable as it relates to the bank at that point, without the bank sign off. Is that,
It's not really true, because the only way the bank can reduce its security is if you execute a disbursement allowing a reduction, and if I don't get a signed disbursement authorizing a reduction, then it doesn't happen.
but I'm saying, the affordable doesn't get built, doesn't get finished, doesn't get whatever. We go to the bank and say, give us the $200,000. We don't have a completely finalized agreement without them signing
Yeah,
off.
and like I said, we can definitely go back and get it, but it's no, so for example, if I may, so say tonight you say to me, Jill, we will allow surety to be posted in that way, but we condition that upon the receipt of confirmation from Reading Cooperative Bank that they will in
That's
fact
all
hold
I'm-
it.
That's all I'm saying.
Then, oh, yeah, Mr. Martin, I don't blame you at all, and I can understand it. It's simply, I was looking for direction from the board to see if that would be a viable option for this board.
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, please.
And my apologies, I didn't read it, didn't get to it. So this is essentially the tripartite agreement that we've held for surety.
Mm-hmm,
And now we're modifying that.
mm-hmm.
Can you do that?
I'm sure that it can be done. I mean, anything can be done. I just feel, because of the way it was originally created, I would feel more comfortable. I would have a greater level of comfort dispersing the funds, releasing the funds back to you, and then in a separate mechanism, some kind of separate mechanism that we need to look at very closely.
I don't know what that mechanism would be.
I don't
It would
feel-
be,
I don't-
honestly, it would simply be a second tripartite.
In which case, maybe
That's why it
that
would
would
just be
be
a tripartite.
something that would be a
Just
little
new one,
more,
just start all over.
yeah, something like that. Or a cash deposit, or some kind of escrow account that
But-
clearly states,
This is,
Who would be the holder of that escrow account, though, is the issue.
these are the things that need to be determined.
We would prefer to be able to keep it with the bank, because what we're entitled to then do is at least the bank holds it, and then we don't have the issues, because we pledge lines of credit to do this. So the way it actually works is okay, so that's, that's why. I mean, we pay money for it to do it, but in order to draw, then we place it in, so it's kind of like a double whammy, if you will.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
please.
So, so the two Form Js, that you submitted and Form Ks that were filed with town clerk today, they didn't have the Exhibit A attached to them.
Mm-hmm.
They were just blanks.
Yeah, it's just
So-
in the original that was submitted, in the June
Right.
9th example it was, I didn't have the most recent updated spreadsheet because Jackie had been out of the office and Dave Varga just had given it, I guess, to you, with his report.
The revision.
Right.
But he gave it to me July 19th, so.
Oh, that's brand spanking new, believe me, it went through July 13th. Yeah, the town clerk didn't have the exhibits, those were submitted with the initial
Yeah,
submission.
I'm pointing out to them that she did not.
So
Basically, what was filed with her is just the Form J for lots 1, 5, 6, 11, 12, 14, 17, 19, 22 in the release. And then the Form K for the same. And then the same thing for the Form J for the partial release for lot 22, without an exhibit
So
attached.
I did
Which
two in
included
the
disbursement.
alternative. So I filed, if the board this evening said, you know what, Joe, we don't want to substitute collateral.
Right.
We do have a sale pending. Remember how we got the release for those lots and you said, look, we're not going to give you a blanket release, Joe. We don't have the ability to do this. This was before Ms. Murphy even started here. And we got those releases and then we had issued one for lot 16 out of it because we knew we were selling it. And then we had, our next release was for 10, 15, 21. And then we got those three and then we had one left. And now we identified the next lot we were going to sell. That's why 22. We had given them to you in blank because we didn't know.
Right. and we refused to grant them.
Right.
And I don't blame you. Yeah, you didn't want to give it to me in blank, which, you know, I understood. But you did release up to the 14th lot, not the 15th, because of the trigger being the delivery of the affordable.
So this is the third issue.
Yep, that's why she brought up why I had done that, so I wanted to make sure you knew what all the things were
Enumerate the
done.
issues. That's it.
I've got more issues, I mean, all I have are issues.
Okay, you only get 3.
You don't wanna go there, though, right? No, so the one we were actually speaking about is, in my opinion, and the board can accept it or not accept it, we are permitted pursuant to a tripartite agreement to issue security in whatever fashion this board sees fit. So I do believe that we could simply revise that, get the consent of Reading to enable you to continue to hold instead of allowing us to actually draw it down and bring it back up. I almost think that sometimes can create a bit more confusion. But again, I defer to the board. It's your comfort level that's most important. But I do believe that if the board were to exercise its authority and tell me, yes, Joe, we will hold that as collateral, and then, you know, to Mr. Martin's point, if I then deliver to you, and I can do it tomorrow through Ms. Murphy, a confirmation and an amendment to the tripartite agreement that I would submit through Jonathan Eichman, I would suggest, because Jonathan had been the original party.
He's on vacation.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, that's right, because I talked to Lee Smith today. I can go through Lee. So then we would just, Lee's, who is taking over for Jonathan while he's away. Excuse me. And just to say, look, this is the form of the amendment.
Well, just speaking for myself, I know that, you know, conditioning this of, you know, getting some sort of confirmation from the bank and what, I think that's a go. That seems to be obvious. But the other, I'm just not, I don't know. I don't know.
So, and forgive me if you've already covered this.
Oh, no.
The current state of the second affordable is empty lot still? It is a
Well,
building?
we haven't been able to get the building
Right,
permit.
okay, so it's an empty lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna get the building permit now, though.
Thank you. Yes, and we are literally chomping at the bit to go.
So,
It's 12 weeks from, just so you know, it's 12 weeks from data construction through.
I view this as, everybody gets in their truck tomorrow and they leave. They build every other lot except for that one, and then they get in their trucks and they leave.
Mhm.
And they leave us with an empty lot. Does $230,000, $240,000 get us a built house and Jonathan Eichman to go through the process of getting it approved, et cetera, et cetera? Probably.
Probably
Not.
not.
Right.
Oh.
It would. You don't have any land cost. You have no land cost, you have no septic cost. It's all done.
But-
And the
but-
plans are done.
But we're not,
Septic's in.
yeah, but
We don't have-
we're not a construction company though, so we would have to go out and pay somebody
would
and their
actually-
profit and things like that.
You'd
We-
actually sell it, you wouldn't even have the right to do that, by the way. What ends up really happening, it doesn't, you don't get it. The bank gets it. And the bank takes over and the bank would construct it because it would have no choice. So really and truly what happens is the bank would foreclose. It would take over. It would be required to complete all infrastructure, which by the way, you have 2 times the value for. And then it would also be required to complete the affordable home in accordance with the regulatory agreement because it has no choice. So you have, once the regulatory agreement is filed, you have a lot of control. That thing is impenetrable, as you well know. You
But-
probably
well,
had the
but-
experience.
Okay, but
So you would never take that lot. It would never fall to you.
Yeah, but if we weren't burned so badly at Whispering Pines,
I don't know anything about that.
yeah.
Did you actually have a regulatory agreement?
No, we did not.
Okay, there's the
No,
difference.
we did not, but the bank did, the developer at some point have, this board released, not this board, but a former planning board, released lots incrementally till the point where there were only 2 lots left in the subdivision, and those were the affordable housing units that were supposed to be built on those 2 lots. And then the developer must have ran it through a spreadsheet and said, I make way more money by going bankrupt, and I'm bellying up the corp.
That we can
did.
we can belly up all we want. We had to sign a regulatory agreement that says notwithstanding bankruptcy and or foreclosure, those lots remain in perpetuity affordable.
Oh, absolutely, but
There's
the
no-
bottom line is,
The
you're not
lots
gonna
do.
belly up, you're not gonna leave 13 lots sitting there.
Dear God, no.
Yeah, no.
Nor will the
That I
bank.
know.
Nor will the bank. But we also aren't going to leave, $230,000 sitting there either.
No.
What do you, how many square foot is a new?
I apologize. Off the top of my head, I can't. If you asked me 2 months ago, I could have told you. It's a 4-bedroom, I know. So my guess is it's
3,000.
under that, I'm sure.
4 bedrooms.
Probably like 29, 28.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
it's what?
I was gonna say, if it's affordable housing, when you start getting into 3,500 square feet, that's a big house.
Oh, it is not. It is not plus $3,000.
Well, maybe I should say it's all relative.
Yeah, and it has to be,
Yeah, but no, you're right, because if you
Distinguishable.
look at it, you have to have vanilla box footprint, right? And it's still the cost of concrete, so what's your footprint? And it's a true colonial, 2-story, so.
I mean, I don't know what the $150 a square foot to build the house? All things included there? I don't know.
That may be an actual real cost for a completed home,
Yeah.
but not, I don't even know if it would be that much, to be honest with you. I don't know, I can't tell you the developer's cost, but that's also, I can't tell you developer's cost.
But.
That's what we would pay.
Standing in our shoes, the developer's cost is not,
oh, no.
is not really
No,
relevant
it's
to
not
us. It's
realistic.
relevant to them, of course, but not necessarily to us, because we have.
We need a clerk of the works,
Right.
we need a developer, we, you know what we'd have to do? We'd have to, like, hire artisan to build it for us.
Again, you would never be in that position because the regulatory agreement, the bank takes over and we had to consent. When the regulatory agreements are signed now, I think most likely they have been burned as well. So when you file the regulatory agreement, which you'll find when you see it, is prior to or immediately following the execution and the recording of the regulatory agreement, the bank is required to file what they call a consent. And in that consent, it says even upon foreclosure, we are still subject to the regulatory agreement, because do you remember, like 10, 15 years ago, affordables weren't. The banks could take them and bring them out of foreclosure and not have to abide by the regulatory agreements. That no longer is the case.
So the town is in front.
The town you do not own that lot. This is
Right,
nothing
we're
to
not
do
in
with you.
front.
The bank is required to construct.
The bank.
There is a big difference. So that's why I say to you, like I think your past experience had been horrible, but not similar to this situation at all. It dissimilar to the extent that we have a regulatory agreement and an agreement with DHCD as well as you.
And that is.
And the
that-
bank. The
And
regu-
that is the difference.
That's a big
Correct.
difference, yes.
That's big, okay.
Now, I don't know all the other details of that one, but
The other question, just clarification, probably because you have it in your mind. Under the terms of our decision, you're on a freeze for lot releases right
Yes.
now until precisely what?
until the occupancy permit is issued, not a sale on the
Oh, I see.
affordable, because I can't control that.
Oh, let's see,
Yes,
how long,
12 weeks from beginning
beginning a sign off?
construction. So we assume that if we get the sign off now tomorrow, then we'll get our building permit and we literally will begin. I don't think it's gonna start tomorrow, but it would start maybe Friday or Monday, could even go
Halloween.
through the weekend.
Halloween.
Yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. And that's the problem, so what's going on is then we do have homes under construction for the spec homes, we will try, we have to under our loan, we have to continue movement and construction and progress at our site, and that's kind of the problem. We didn't anticipate as long a wait as we had to get this the affordable to be able to be constructed.
So getting back to,
Yeah,
is it,
try to get it,
okay.
just try to get it all there. Extrapolating, how many lot releases do you anticipate you would need under normal conditions between now and Halloween?
So if the board could issue some and not all. I would say probably if we could get 5, We have one, maybe 4, 5. I mean, you know, anything we can get, trust me, it's better than what we have, which is none. Well, we have one, but that's under some other paradigm.
That's 22. Right, number
Yes.
20, block 22. Thank you, Mr.
And where are you going with that clarification? What is it
Comfort
that-
level.
I just want to understand.
If we were to just simply release tonight, the disbursement, just a release, which they have every right to, they've done
Mhm.
what they've done.
Mhm.
Dave Varga, has ran the spreadsheet,
I understand, yeah.
only looking at a $400 discrepancy, which with the
Yeah.
two-time
That-
multiplier is
Nothing.
insignificant to this.
Yeah.
And in my mind right now, I would feel comfortable, just me, I would feel comfortable releasing Lot 22, dispersing the amount of money that they've already built,
Mhm.
the one Dave Varga recommended. And waving goodbye to the attorney. And at the point when you needed another lot release, you would come in and the board would look at it.
And perhaps see at what point we have completed the
Oh,
affordable.
I think we'd be driving by there a lot.
Oh, you
I don't-
know we welcome that.
So- Okay, so I get the, Dave Varga's already, said here's where it's at, and
Yeah.
everybody would be in agreement with that. I
Here's the
would
number.
suspect. So there's the number, so everybody's in agreement with that, but what is, where does that stand in relationship to what Jill's asking, which is to have this money then?
Basically, I guess I'm saying no.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm
Okay.
saying no to
Okay.
the modified tripartite.
Okay.
yes
Being
to,
flexible, as far as,
Yes, but giving a great deal of flexibility with our ability to.
Additional lot
to-
releases.
Additionally.
I respect that and would appreciate that greatly, because, for example, let's assume, 22, we have under agreement, and there's a tenant, not even tenant, a buyer, who actually gave notice to his rental unit, and he wants to come in, so, he's chomping. So if we get that release, beautiful. And then, as long as the board is receptive, so if you see progress being made, so for example, we deliver and we construct all the way to, and it does it fast, we construct all the way up to the roof, and then we're, weather tight, and we come in and we say to the board, look, we have 2 under agreement, we're gonna be able to sell the lots, can we get 2 releases based on the fact that we are more than 50% done, and all of the major materials have been delivered to the site? So we have no issue, we just need to understand if the board is going to be receptive to our plight, which is basically, missing the fall selling season, which it can be devastating. Because then we keep and own through a winter, and that is very unpleasant for a developer.
So is what I'm hearing from the board then, with regards to the second issue of this, bond reduction request, that there's a consensus no to having the money be retained. Having the bond released, absolutely to that number, I'm hearing the board's.
That's
there.
just me.
And I saw you
I
nodding.
think they're entitled to it at this point. Yeah.
So could we
Vote on that?
kill number 2, this second issue?
Let me find a piece of paper here.
That's saying release the bond, but you're not
Yep,
gonna
so
get it
that
retained
is
in the way you were
I don't know if it was filed,
Yeah.
but document number 2, I call them.
I'm just
It is,
gonna,
yeah.
7 number.
I'm just gonna throw this out. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to reduce the tripartite agreement by $232,035.52.
It's fine.
You did the $400 change.
I did the 400 already,
'Cause that's-
Mr. Martin, in the reduction, so if you look at the 116, I reduced it by 4, I already, the 200 something.
I'm not worried about the 400,
Oh.
that's just different than the number I had here, so that's why I was
It's
curious.
in
I'm looking here.
Oh,
Yeah.
so this is no longer accurate. This
I
document.
apologize, I can't see,
Okay.
it's too far away from.
This is from Dave Varga.
Right.
This is a number from Dave Varga.
Oh, this is
This is
my
Dave
number, I
Varga's,
incorporated
dated
the,
July 19th.
They
Yeah,
gave,
Yes, that's good.
That's the one I'm going, I'm going on.
Okay.
okay,
It's good,
not
it's
his
good.
updated one?
That's good. Hey, that one's fine.
It's the $400.
The $100.
I'm sorry, it's not about the $400, it's
Okay.
just that we have a disbursement certificate here.
Rip
And
that up because she wrote it and it deals with something else.
no, I
Nope.
did, I did 2 of them
She did
Oh.
too.
to reflect what you're talking about. Mr. Cotillia.
Oh, we have
and
a
one-
disbursement.
I did
Oh, I
both
did not
on
see
purpose.
that.
So if we use this number, if
Can we
we
get-
don't use this number, then we
Okay,
have to
so-
start.
Can I see the
Yeah.
disbursement?
Would you
May
mind
I
giving
see?
this to them? Oh, you have it.
Take-
Thank you. Yeah, I withdraw my motion, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
So
Did you
noted.
have it?
since it was not
Do
seconded
it again.
anyway.
Yeah, right.
I apologize. What I had done was I saw the email, so I just took into account the 400 because I could. That's a lot, 21 one.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
I would like to make a motion to release a disbursement from the tripartite agreement for Turning Leaf subdivision in the amount of $231,635.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and it's been seconded to approve reduction of the tripartite agreement by releasing the funds in a total amount of
Nope.
$231,000, $231,635.52. Any discussion?
Just for point of clarification, do you want to include in your motion that we sign the disbursement certificate so that,
Oh, sure, and with the understanding that the board will sign the disbursement certificate this evening.
Motion second.
Second.
So, so what was that language again, Harry, that you just said?
It was a motion to release the.
No, I've got the release part, just that part you added on at the end.
Oh, as far as, and authorize the board, with the understanding that the board will sign the dispersal release this evening.
Is that what that's called, dispersal release?
Disbursement certificate.
Oh, excuse me.
Disbursement certificate.
Disbursement certificate.
So a motion to approve the reduction of the tripartite agreement by releasing the funds in the total amount of $231,000, $231,635.52, with the understanding planning board's signing the
Disbursement?
disbursement certificate. All in favor?
Aye, Mr. Chairman.
Aye. Unanimous and one absent in all the votes tonight for that.
Does the board sign those all together, or do we just throw that to our clerk?
So it was stamped on the town clerk.
Yeah,
okay,
it's
'cause I don't
just-
see
That
the
was a
date.
blanket.
This is not it.
Okay.
This is not it.
Yeah,
But
it
the
has to
other-
be up here, wherever the tripartite is referred to, it's supposed to say exhibit A, here it is.
Oh, sorry, missed it. Okay, thank you.
No, listen, I missed it too.
So
but
do
it's
we
just-
have?
Yeah, that's the form.
The modified one.
Yeah, isn't it?
Who's got the form for us to sign?
I wrote on mine.
I have one. Want this one?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was here. Yeah.
So that's one Form K, is,
Partial raise K, got
that's just lot 22.
We didn't vote on that yet.
Not 22.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
that's
we
what-
haven't voted on that one yet.
Oh,
but
so
it
what did
was
you
the-
want, another
the
disbursement?
Yeah,
Do
we're
you want to
looking
just
for the
keep those then?
disbursement.
You can, and then here's the second disbursement.
I'll keep
I thought you
these.
had, you
Sorry.
didn't
This
sign
is
it?
lot
I got two
22.
copies.
No,
What's the
they're
diff-
separate,
Here
they're
was the
different.
Right,
full,
the different.
Yeah,
Okay.
they-
here's the
This
full,
one.
you can just
It's this one.
push those here, here's the full disbursement.
That's the one I want.
Yeah, this is the one, so it's just,
This one is,
I always compile
this
these
releasing
records
the money,
when
that one's releasing the money and holding
This
on
is
to it.
disbursement.
Cool.
Make sure.
Disbursement certificate.
Flip
That
the
didn't make
second
sense,
page,
but I
I was
just
just
said
like,
no. I think you know what I
yeah,
mean.
that's how I can tell.
It was in a
That's
context.
it.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
the two things. The signatures appear on the following pages. Just the chair.
Yeah, and that one just. Do you actually have a second copy of that so that I can give it to you?
Yeah.
Sign the disbursement, because I like to give it back to you.
What day is it, 27?
Oh, I thought it's the same one.
Alright.
Hmm.
This is the one with a lot of language.
Bill, I guess you're the notary, huh? Alright, so this goes back to you then.
Yeah, just that's all the exhibits, the A, and then this is
all-
Dave
that's
Vargas'
Dave
sheet.
Vargas
Yep.
stuff, yeah. So then we have this issue. That's lot 22.
Mr. Chairman.
Those.
Yeah.
I don't know why there are two. There's the two.
Okay, inform,
Why is there two Form Ks?
Oh, I just get, you know what, Heidi gave me her Form
Oh,
K,
okay.
I put it up
All
there.
right. So just one, right?
Yes, yes.
on another issue. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to, release lot number 22 in the Turning Leaf subdivision. Release from covenant, and to authorize, the board to sign the Form K this evening. That's my motion, and I'm sticking to it.
And I'll even second it.
So, motion's been made, it's been seconded to, release lot number 22, turning the subdivision, and authorize the planning board to sign, the Form K. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Anybody have that number?
So you've got the.
The 231, you ready, Harry?
I have the real deal? I have the real deal.
I took the other one and folded it up.
Gotcha, sorry.
Because the two confused me. I was thinking one was different.
Left the top line for you, Bubba.
231, 635, .52.
Thank you.
Yep. And Mr. Hoover, I just need to know, you signed the disbursement certificate under your own free act and deed, right, voluntarily? Have to.
Yes.
And I watched them, and I watched them, I witnessed.
witnessed?
I'm a witness.
Mr. Locatilia, you'll be on the stand then, you know, that's deposition material.
That's it, I'm ready to go there.
I know nothing.
Yeah. The best thing in the world, you go to deposition, what do you say? I don't really remember, right?
Was I there that night?
So, what these,
I thought I never left the bar.
You've done this before.
so I have in my hand here,
Oh, what do you, tons
Form
of.
J. This is going back to you.
Yeah, those, is
Yeah,
that the old?
none.
I just like, I, do you want,
Yes.
What are we missing?
I think we've covered all of her issues.
1, 2, and 3.
that was
Yeah,
it.
that was 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, thank you.
Bill?
You have to go, yeah, thank you.
Jill, I think that was it.
I think so, thank you very much, I
Great.
appreciate your indulgence.
Thanks a lot for coming in.
And, just, Heidi and I just
Don't
discussed
have
it,
a
and
blue
I'll be.
sheet, do you?
Pardon?
You don't have a blue sheet, do you? Too bad.
But I'm gonna send,
Okay.
I'm gonna send to Heidi the, recorded, release, so that you'll have it in your file as well.
Does the town now own the first one, the first affordable unit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
we do.
yeah,
Okay.
that, Jonathan and I closed on that last, June, I don't remember, July 19th.
Okay.
Fridays ago, wasn't it?
It was,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that's-
I just hadn't heard specifically that it had taken place. so-
So they own it. I think they actually begun the process of attempting to rent, right?
And Heidi gave us the book and page numbers.
I did,
in-
I did,
In the
yeah.
supplement.
Yeah, if you
And
ever
all
need anything about it, just let me know. Take care, thank you very much,
Thank
enjoy
you.
your
Good
summer.
Good night.
Have a good weekend.
Does the town own it, or does the
So we have,
We own it.
members of public report.
No one knows where the keys are yet.
Any other concerns, planning board members?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yep.
sorry, I know it's, oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to, put your memory caps on. It had to have been,
Like I'm in romper room.
yeah, thing there. If you recall, I think it was back in January sometime, because it was close to my birthday. This board went through, all the legal proceedings required to hold a public hearing. Notice in the paper twice. We held a public hearing, I believe it was continued once, and then it was closed, upon which the board voted to adopt the groundwater protection map for the town. We left here, I think every one of us left with the understanding that we had recommended that to the town meeting, and it fell through a crack in the planning office desk and never made it on the warrant. I know that tonight we're doing protocols, et cetera. Last year, when you were first elected last time, you did something really great that I loved. You asked each one of the board members to give, for discussion at another meeting, their top 3 priorities that they wanted to accomplish for the year. It's been a crazy, hectic year because we didn't have, but I would hope that we could do that again.
Absolutely.
And that whole hearing process, everything that we went through to bring this to the fall town meeting, we have to do it again. Because there's a time limit before, you have to hold the hearing before the meeting. And it's gotta be done all over again in spite of the fact that we did it once already.
So with regards to
With
that
regards to
issue,
that.
can we authorize, we're just gonna put that on the
I would like to
agenda
make a
to get it
motion.
going. Do you need a motion?
I would like to make a motion to authorize Heidi to advertise a public hearing for the groundwater protection district map amendments that we did last year.
Okay, motion, second?
Second.
Motion's been made and it's been seconded to authorize town planner to set public notice for the groundwater protection, discussion meeting.
What I would hope is that we could do that public meeting, do it one night, do it as
5 minutes.
5 minutes,
Open the thing. so
open the
we're
thing,
gonna-
ask for
no
any additional
changes?
public comments,
Exactly.
any new public comments. And hopefully we can pull out the materials that were submitted so that
We can reintroduce them and reread them into the
we
record.
read them into the record
And I'm
and
completely on the same page with you, with the one caveat that we fall in that window, and I don't know what that window is. You have to, it's a window that it must be held or at least closed within the point when, before the town meeting. There's that window that it has
It's
to
in
be
accordance
done.
with Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5, but I would have to go
Isn't it-
back and look at it before I can answer the question. But I do know that 48, Section 5 pertains to rezoning. And I can coordinate with the town administrator to see what sort of like his policies and procedures are for getting something. I know it has to usually go to the Board of Selectmen as well, just for like a recommendation. Do you guys do that here, or?
I
Okay,
think
okay, thank
what you
you.
said.
but we have spent we've spent a fair deal amount of time on it. I think we did a
We did.
great job on
We
it.
did twice, yeah, we did.
I think it's ripe to be a very, very brief discussion.
Yeah.
Copy paste. It's just a matter of time.
So,
Cover page you
any
did.
more discussion? Seeing no more discussion,
When, may I ask when the next town meeting is, so that I know?
That's
Might
where you
be-
come in.
Okay,
That's why I did the caveat.
you're gonna
Want to
need-
open it as
you're
soon
gonna
as
need to
possible.
find that out.
okay.
But we'll most likely open
September, isn't
and
it?
continue,
Special town meeting?
November.
November? Is it?
It's, I think it's November.
Okay, all right, good.
It's November.
Yeah, so, but bear in mind what I'm proposing here.
In fact, I know
Open.
it's November, cause it's when there's elections going on, sometimes it's, whatever.
Yeah, open it, do it, don't close it, continue it to whatever date we need to continue it, so we fall in that window. And the night we reopen, have our discussion and bring it like we already did once before, but didn't manage to get it there.
Okay. So, thanks for bringing
I'm
that
ready
up,
to vote
Harry.
yes on that, Mr. Chairman.
I think we did, didn't we?
You know, we should-
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were, okay, ready to take a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous,
Cool.
with one absent. You have something else?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Yeah, we got a couple.
Yeah, I got a couple.
All right.
And this is all stuff that fell off. We never finished, we had discussions about the, stormwater and the calculations, the way stormwater calculations were done, the Cornell numbers, if you recall, the Cornell numbers. We sort of dropped that whole, I believe we had a public hearing for that going. We drop that, I'm not suggesting that we open a hearing for that, but I would like to do what we did before and put that on the priority list. I don't know where that is. I can tell you that's on the top of my list.
So, what does the board want to do in terms of, right now, the way we've been handling the two items for chair's role and planning board protocols has been listed under members of public reports, but I think now with these adding, which are great, they almost need to fall under maybe old business, so that they become an agenda item that we're,
I would love to see those Cornell numbers you just brought up on a new agenda item for the next meeting or something like that, just so we don't drop them and we can fill.
What did we approve last year? I'm sorry to,
Yeah.
I thought we approved the Cornell numbers.
We did not approve them. We were in the process of working through with the public hearing. We sort of ran out of time. And, you know, when we do the minutes, we'll see that.
Something went to town meeting.
Yeah, but.
No.
No, what went to town meeting was the regulation, was the stormwater and erosion control. bylaw.
Right.
That was the one
bylaw,
score we
right,
made,
right.
which
was necessary.
is my, absolutely,
Yeah.
but which is my next issue. Okay, I know. Well, member concern.
How about this? How about this? Because the way I've always thought about this item of members' concern is that it's the opportunity for a board member to put the item on the table, not for us to get into discussion about it. To
Absolutely not.
develop the list, to then goes to
Absolutely.
agendas to discuss.
Put it to the next
the
agenda.
next appropriate
But
agenda.
just so that we're all clear on my concern, and again, you know, I like that three thing, everybody
Yeah.
gives their top three.
Yeah.
The stormwater and erosion control bylaw was passed. One of the reasons that, bear in mind that the Conservation Commission was the permit granting authority for that for 7 years.
That changed.
We changed that.
To be the planning
It
board.
changed because of the fact that in those 7 years, although the bylaw allowed them to, they never promulgated the regulations that they were supposed to under that bylaw.
It's okay.
I would hate to look back 7 years from now and find this board did the same thing.
No, I think, I'm glad you're picking it up. We're gonna, got a good call, good catch.
We have to,
Yeah.
we have to open a public hearing for that, and, you know, this is all next week,
So how, okay, so that the agenda doesn't get huge, what if we just for now, this is just a suggestion I'm putting out, what if for now, the town planner is authorized to just create a separate list right now of these items you're talking about, the items that I've been talking about, and, we bring that to the next meeting to pick from, to identify?
I'm good with that.
The,
Can
You're not
we?
here though.
Huh?
You're not gonna be here.
To do it to the meeting after. You can do it at the meeting, I'm not here, but, you know, whenever.
may I interject? The town clerk spoke with me today, and the Attorney General's office called her, and, she pointed out that it was submitted under Article 57, which is a general bylaw.
Chapter
And she was
57.
concerned,
That's true.
that it wasn't submitted in accordance as a zoning as well. So if anyone has any recollection of that, because I'm gonna be speaking with her tomorrow, that would be helpful.
Talk to Tilly about it, if
Okay.
she's feeling well.
Okay.
She used to be ZBA for years. She knows. Yeah, she was the original. Yeah, the original,
still on
7
the
years ago,
It would,
8 years ago.
it would be my preference before we, absolutely on that, but it would be, before we noticed the public hearing on what was the first one we said we were gonna do?
The groundwater protection map.
Yeah.
Could we notice all three and hold all three meetings on the same night? Because we've already held these meetings.
Cornell numbers, we never got there. The groundwater protection map, yeah, we did it, completed, should have been submitted, never did get there. Cornell numbers, we touched, we never resolved anything, and
We never really sunk the deal.
we knew that that was gonna be something we really have to sink our teeth into. And that's gonna be a little homework. And as far as the regulations for the stormwater and erosion control, stormwater and erosion control bylaw, those are brand-new regulations that we need to promulgate. I mean, they don't exist.
Yeah, we need to just,
Yeah, and, yeah, we have to open a hearing
I
for it.
just kind of feel like they are somewhat interrelated.
so we
And I haven't
will
even
be,
mentioned the other things.
we will be in better position
Yeah.
to, so the next packet that we get,
that
you're
many?
gonna have a week to look at, under one of these items, there's gonna be this bullet of all of these things, and we'll be able to come prepared to talk about which ones you wanna do in maybe that order.
I would hope that you'll reinstitute that thing, and tonight reinstitute that request of the board members for your top 3 priorities, because, I mean, there's a lot here. There are a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to bulldoze any of these 3 through. Well, I am trying to bulldoze the groundwater protection map 1,
So
because
we-
that was already done,
So,
but.
I don't know where that information is from last time, but it's worth, so we'll do it again. I think the board's in agreement that let's all do it. Nothing official, that, I don't think we need to take a vote on it.
As far as the 3 things?
Yeah, for each board member to submit to Heidi and copy, and then, submit to Heidi, and, the 3 items that they see as the most important that they want to address.
Goals, goals
yeah.
before town meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that.
So, and perhaps you could, let Tilly know that
Yes, I will.
list.
You're gonna have to send a query out to remind us to do it.
That's not a bad idea.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
Right. Just a mention of the fact that we were gonna, the Cornell numbers were more than, were in subdivision regs. And if you recall, the Cornell numbers, we knew we needed to work with the stormwater bylaw.
Right.
Part of what we
Correct.
did when we changed that stormwater bylaw that got approved, was in what we determined to be first step to fixing and adding in the Cornell
These
numbers.
items to give them to you.
It was a 1,
Right.
2, 3-step process, so I think we're on our way. Hopefully we'll accomplish before the end of the year.
So, as far as chair's role, planning board protocols, I don't, if the board's all right, and I'm sure you guys will be all right, I don't really want to get into it tonight. I don't really have it in me tonight, if you guys are okay
Thank
with
you.
that.
I'm really tired.
Long, hot day, brother.
What I do wanna, put on the table, are 2 things. One, I know Mike Farrell, has been, trying to coordinate a meeting with Heidi and myself for the so-called 45-day, review, intermediate review, whatever you call that thing. Yeah, town planner, it's part of the
Understood.
way that goes. So, the board, and you, if you could let Tilly know this too, if you all have any, obviously, I've had the most interaction with her, but if you all wanna send an email to me, to no one else, in terms of, feedback for, this 45-day job, review, then I will take that information to the meeting that, Mike Farrell, and Heidi and I will be having. So I wanted you guys to know that that's coming up, to have your opportunity to comment.
Can I withhold my comments until I see the next supplemental packet?
Yes, you may. You absolutely may.
And to that, the schedule, actually, I think Mike is, because of the 45-day window or something with that, and I'm going over for 2 weeks, he's trying to schedule this for next week,
Tuesday.
Tuesday. So this has all happened, this has all literally happened yet today and yesterday, so it's all new for everybody. So if you want to, over the weekend, Monday, send an
And it's
email.
just an email to.
Just an email to
To
me,
you.
no one
Okay.
else, don't
Yep.
copy it to
No
anyone else.
CCs.
No, no, and then I will bring that and share it in
And this is like
copies
some kind of
to the
critique
other.
of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
last
what's
month.
going on and how things are going and stuff like that. And then, the only other thing I just wanna put on the table, I want you guys to think about. If there is a way to give me a break from the chair, I want you to think about it. I'm not saying I want to give up the chair. I'm not saying that I want to stick anyone with anything. But if there's a way to give me a break for a month and then maybe someone else can do it for a month, and I don't even know if it's a month, it might be 2 weeks. I'm just putting on the table that I could use a break, use an emotional break. So think about it.
I would make a motion right now, if you would look for it. I understand what you're asking for, and I can understand why you'd be asking for it, given what you have been through over the last 6 months in the process. I would make a motion right now to appoint somebody as temporary chair for a period of the month of August, if that would be something that would please you, if something that would be helpful to
It
you.
would be very helpful.
And if there was somebody that would volunteer to be the temporary chair for the month of August.
So the volunteering part, that's why I want people to think about it, because I know it's a heavy,
This
it's
is just
a big
August.
request. This
This
is,
is August.
this is the month of August, yeah.
I'll pull that for August, I can do that.
I'll make a motion that, that Harry be appointed the temporary chair for the month of August. Rob to resume his duties as chair on September 1, 2016.
That's great.
I
Second?
don't think it's appropriate for me to second that.
I'll
Second, yeah.
So motion's been made, it's been seconded to authorize Harry to take over the chair for the month of August, to be taken back over by Rob, September 1. Any discussion? The only discussion is greatly appreciated, thank you. And I'll talk with you before, we'll just do a little switch over and then that'll be that, but thanks, Matt. Okay, great, that's it.
And
Wait, you gotta vote.
October, CPC.
Oh, and
satisfied.
everybody, no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay,
Motion
Was
is,
it appropriate for me to vote on that?
absolutely.
yes.
Aye. It's mandatory.
Yeah.
Mandatory.
Change the rules for the
Motion
clerk
to
starting
adjourn.
August 1. Everything.
Mr. Chairman, I make a move to adjourn.
Motion made to adjourn in a second.
Second.
Seconded. It's 10 after 9. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody. Good meeting.
We vote.